This presentation of the Savage Nation is brought to you by Inheritance Funding Company.
Armstrong and Getty.
They're not police with a microphone.
Weekday morning 6 to 10. Talk 910 KNEW.
Warning. The Michael Savage Show contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Here is Michael Savage.
Savage Nation Rock and Roll Friday Open Mic to Mike. It is the Savage Nation, 1-800-449-8255. Open Mic to Mike. Any topic is fair game, I guess. There's a huge story out there. You wouldn't know it. You won't read it in your paper. Jackie Smith, the woman who banned Michael Savage from the United Kingdom, herself, one person, says I was not up to being Home Secretary. They took a school teacher and made her the equivalent of the Department of Homeland Security head. Can you believe it? I was not up to being Home Secretary, she said. Can you believe this? She said, when I became Home Secretary, I'd never run a major organization. This is exactly what Obama is doing in America. He is taking untrained, unqualified, inexperienced people and putting them in high positions, and that's what's going on here now. Another article, born in Fontainebleau Hotel, died in Hilton Hotel, Associated Press. Interesting story. I couldn't stop reading it. Ben Novak Jr. grew up in the penthouse of Miami Beach's famous Fontainebleau Hotel, pampered by the staff, patted on the head by the likes of Frank Sinatra and Bob Hope, and whisked off to school in a limousine. Now, that's the beginning of the story. It was a tumultuous life he had, right up until Sunday when his wife found the 53-year-old heir beaten to death in the Hilton Hotel in the upscale New York suburb of Rybrook at the end of a convention he had organized. Now, if you read the story, it's certainly worthy of a novel. It'll be a great movie, and I don't have time to go into it. But look at the story. Born in Fontainebleau Hotel, died in Hilton Hotel. So the guy grows up. His father builds the Fontainebleau Hotel, right? It's opened in 1954. Big, famous monster hotel in Miami Beach. The father runs the hotel until he files for bankruptcy in, I think, 1978. I can't find it in the article. Something around 78. The end of an era. Just when the Catskill Mountains died, that's when the Miami Beach scene, in that regard, died. You know, the big type of splashy hotel died. Father declares bankruptcy. He built the Fontainebleau in 54, ran it until he filed for bankruptcy in 1977. Celebrity playpen in the 50s, been used in such Hollywood films such as Goldfinger and Scarface. So the kid grows up, spoiled rich kid, but never achieved anything in his life. Him and his wife, meantime, fighting over money, it seems, on and off. He's found beaten to death with a blunt object. His wife is the only person who had a card to his room, and police say that she is not a suspect. Well, that's interesting. Investigators from New York are in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where the Novaks lived in a gated community. Now, if you look back into this story, it gets crazier. It gets crazier by the day. This guy who never amounted to jack, the guy who was beaten to death, the son, the rich guy, apparently his father was a real, the guy who built everything up. Ben Novak Sr. divorced his wife in 1968 and died in 1985 at age 78. A week after his son asked the Miami judge to find his father mentally incompetent to handle his finances. So the father dies a week after this guy tries to get a judge in Miami to find his father mentally incompetent to grab the money. The mother Bernice died a bloody death 3 months ago at age 86. This guy found her face down in a pool of blood in the laundry room of her home in Fort Lauderdale. Her skull fractured and her jaw broken. Police show. An autopsy found the death was an accident. I wonder what cop got paid off to write that up. How could a woman 86 die of a skull fracture and a broken jaw in a laundry room, and cops in Fort Lauderdale declare that to be an accident? It's all about money to anybody watching this story. Now, I don't know. There's nothing to talk about here. Life's journey from hotel to hotel ends in mystery, the Fontainebleau Hotel. The only people who can call on this particular topic, the Fontainebleau Hotel, that period of time, would be my relatives and my friends. And since I don't speak to any of my relatives, and I have no friends, we may as well go on to hard news on the Savage Nation. But if you are a relative and you have memories of the Fontainebleau Hotel, and you want to call the show, I don't know, we could take a shot at it. Or you want to talk about the story, 1-800-449-8255. Or Jackie Smith, the woman who banned Michael Savage from the UK, saying I was not up to being Home Secretary. To me, that makes it a slam dunk, get my name off the list. But it's not that easy. You don't understand this. You just don't understand this. You don't get it. You just don't get it. Once a government declares you an enemy, even if they admit they made a mistake, it's very hard to remove your name from that list. I've spent a lot of money, and nothing has happened yet. Nothing has happened yet. The United Kingdom is still declaring me equal to a terrorist and a murderer. I want you to understand how bad this is for you and freedom of speech. Moving on to how bad America is right now, Obama says that the top income earners are just lucky. That's because he himself has never done anything in his life. Everything was handed to him. He is an affirmative action president, clearly. And he says that anybody who makes a lot of money is just lucky. Yeah, well, that's real true, Obama, but it's because of people like you and communists in the government going back 30 years that I had to struggle 5 times as hard as you ever did when you said white males need not apply, Obama. So you could say I'm in the top income, Obama, but, you know, I'm not lucky. I just worked very hard. I'd say you're very lucky that you could get so far with so little. That's what I'd like to say. Yesterday we talked about religions. I guess people are still going to call about that. And it is open mic to Mike Day. Big Dem cash dump on eve of climate vote. The 3 House Democratic leaders who were whipping members of the climate change bill gave tens of thousands in campaign cash to party moderates around the time of the 219 to 212 vote. So even though there's no global warming, the criminal class called politicians are simply buying more taxes for themselves. And, oh, yes, the Islamo-fascists are at it again. They set off bombs in 2 major league hotels in Jakarta, Indonesia, killing scores and injuring well over 60 people. But that didn't make it to your local paper. So play Chubby Checker. We'll come back to your calls at 1-800-449. Again, relatives and friends have priority on the Savage Nation if you want to talk about the Fontainebleau Hotel or the Catskill Mountains for some reason. Does anyone out there know me when I was a lifeguard or a busboy? Is anyone listening to this show? Was anyone listening to the show when I was a kid lifeguard or a kid busboy? Did you know I worked at a factory? Turn that off for a minute. I guess I should explain this to you. See, Obama never worked in a factory. He was just picked by some powerful people in the world to become president. But he says the top income earners are just lucky. But you may not know it, but this lucky talk show host once worked in an ice cream factory. Let me explain to you what it's like. It's probably the worst job in the world, being on a production line in a factory. I should remind you, it's a tough job, and you have to have compassion and sympathy for poor people or people who don't speak the language who take these jobs. It's murder. It was in Long Island City, and it was an ice cream factory, and it was a hot summer. And the production line goes around on a conveyor belt. And I and a few of my friends worked in that factory along with, I think it was Puerto Rican women, by the way, largely on the production line. And the pit boss was an Italian, about 5 foot. And he stood up on a platform over the production, the conveyor belt. So the boxes would come around, and you had, I don't know, whatever the number of seconds were, to pack 24 ice cream bars into the box. And you had to do it in a certain amount of time. Now, if you fumbled, you had to do this for hours on end. And let's say your mind was elsewhere, which it normally is, but you missed and dropped the bar. And he would stop the line, this guy up on the stand, and he'd start screaming, "You moron, you idiot. Look what you did to all the other workers, you stupid moron, you. You do it again, you're costing them money. Now start the line again." See, that's how America worked. When America was really good, we had guys like that pit boss who could call you a moron when you were an idiot or a moron, your mind was distracted. Today, of course, you can't call anyone a moron, even if they're a moron. Instead, you turn them into a home secretary in England, or you turn them into a senator or a congressman from Minnesota. But that's how it worked in those days. I also had a teacher like that. He was an we think he was an IRA member. We don't know. I won't mention his name. Jamaica High School, missing 3 fingers in the left hand, as Irish as they come, heavy brogue, wonderful teacher, math teacher. I remember to this day, he would read out your grades at the end of a test. He'd call your name out and make you come up to the front as he read the name, the grades in descending order.